Welcome to the fourth match of week 2. I am your host V, and today we have my co-host Neolist. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. Excited to see this match.
Yeah, most definitely. Today our competitors are Wire Dragon of the Phoenix Phantums and Salt, who is the coach of the Chillin Cyndaquils. Is there any Pokemon worth noting on the Phoenix Phantom side?
Looking into this matchup, it's going to be interesting to see what Salt has and if Salt can find an answer for this Skeledirge. There's not a lot on this team that's able to answer it nicely, and Skeledirge is able to hit most of them incredibly hard. Otherwise, the two Terra captains are something that Salt's going to have to worry about in Donphan and Flapple, because most of the offensive Terra types or defensive Terra types that could help deal with the Skeledirge are answered by those two pretty cleanly, especially after Terra.
Yeah, most definitely. On my end, the Pokemon that I would like to see is probably the Electric Hands Slappy guy.
Iron Hands.
Iron Hands, thank you. Uh, just because it just looks like a tank. It looks like it hits hard and it just can just take any type of damage. What about the Chilling Cyndaquil side? Is there any notable Pokemon over there?
I'm curious to see if he's going to be able, if Salt is going to be able to do anything with this Orthworm. As a Terra Captain, it's going to be able to be pretty defensive. We are again allowing the use of Shed Tail despite the OU ban, um, and being able to Shed Tail and get a substitute up into a free switch into some of these more offensive threats, such as Toxtricity, which is another notable Pokemon, could be very beneficial. Now, the Toxtricity does need a bit of help with something off of like potentially shift gear rather to get a speed boost to be able to outspeed things, but the damage it can pull off with its punk rock ability and boom burst and overdrive is something that the Phoenix Phantoms are really going to have to worry about.
Yeah, most definitely. I hope the Earthworm is at least due to some type of bulky defense thing. Maybe Terror Ground, Terror Dragon, just as a weird thing. Not entirely sure the Espeon, so that would be interesting if that one procced off. If he did bring that. But shall we bring it over to the battle?
Sure, it looks like our players are already in there and thinking about their leads.
All right. So let's see what they brought. Chase Bonds and we got, or Salt, sorry. We got the Amogus, the Magnezone, the Cryogonal, the Toxicroak, the Vaporeon, and we got that Orthworm. So no Espeon. Probably just trying to do a little cop out, but that's what we got for Salt. And then for Wired's team, we got the Skeledirge, the Masquerain, the Iron Hands, the Flapple, the Donphan, and the Honchkrow. Uh, During the draft, I really wanted Honchkrow, and I'm a little upset that I didn't get him.
uh, notably, just like with the previous match of the Ops and Obstagoons versus the Red Hot Chili Peppers, one of our players has only brought one Terra Captain this week, so that is some pretty decent information for the Phoenix Phantoms to have under their belt. They know that only one Pokemon has the ability to change its type in an effort to be either more defensive or more offensive. In the case of this Orthworm, it's probably going to be more offensive. Maybe live some hits against that Skeledirge. Maybe try to get some free switches off with that Shed Tail, like we talked about.
All right, so shall we tell them to begin and see, let's see what happens.
Sure. I don't. I believe we should be good to go.
All right, so we told our little competitors to battle it out. Currently, they're just picking who they want to lead with. Um, on Wired's
I
team,
can't
who would you
see.
want to lead?
I can't see many reasons not to lead this Masquerain. Oh, but the Iron Hands has come out. The Masquerain getting up to Sticky Webs was something was what I was going to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Sticky Webs makes it so that most of this team, already on the slower side, cannot will be very unable to outspeed. The only hazard removal that Salt has brought, or the Chillin Tentacles has brought this time around, is this Cryogonal. But the Iron Defense right off the bat from the Orthworm really living that close combat super well. I believe this without not seeing the leftovers proc, I believe this might be a citrus berry. Like I said, that shed tail citrus berry is always going to be a pretty popular thing to have. Now I don't know what this Orthworm is going to be able to do damage wise to this Iron Hands, but with the drop in defense, hopefully it can get some pretty decent damage off of something like a body press after the Iron Defense.
Yeah, hopefully, I'm. They're definitely thinking out their turns, which is good. Um, but I don't know. Yeah, like what does this Earthworm do? Okay, so we're switching out. Does the body press and it is immune, so that's
Having that
always fun.
having that threatened Skeledirge as a ghost type is always very good into such spammable and powerful fighting type moves like close combat or body press even. And now switch out into the Vaporeon. Of course, the Torch Song does very negligible damage, but that does get a special attack boost for something like a Shadow Ball to come out, or a Hex if this Skeledirge isn't choiced in some variety.
Yeah, it would definitely be interesting to see like just a Will-O-Wisp, but then go into a Hex immediately, just to try to get as much damage as possible off. But instead, switching back to the Iron Hands.
Now that is a very low amount of damage. Thinking, because Iron Hands is a very bulky Pokemon. Its special defense is not always at the best or at the forefront of its ability. So maybe it might be a Assault Vest version of the Pokemon, and in comes the Amoonguss with a rocky helmet to get some more chip on that Iron Hand. Oh, but the Flapple, the Grass type switch in for the Spore, reading it, and no, so that's seems like a bit of a wasted turn from the Amoonguss. Now I'm curious to see if this Amoonguss will have something like Sludge Bomb to still be able to hit this Flapple for super effective damage, and if Wired is worried about that, if he decides to go for the Terra defensively here to try and mitigate that damage and maybe set up a bit with Dragon Dance.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that the switch in happened with the Flapple on that Spore. Like you said, I definitely hope that some type of damage from the Amoonguss, but instead he's just gonna straight up switch out, meaning there's no like poison moves on that Amoonguss, just straight out to Toxicroak, and switching over to a Donphan.
Yeah, this Donphan, with its sturdy, is going to be able to do live anything the Toxicroak can throw at it. Not that I believe that the Toxicroak could one hit KO with most of its moves, but this could actually be pretty good for Salt if they're willing to sacrifice this Toxicroak. Oh, and it looks like they read the Stealth Rocks and got its Sword Stance up. Once again, I'm curious to see how much damage this Toxicroak can do to this Donphan given the sturdy. But if they're willing to sacrifice this Toxicroak and get rid of the sturdy and get some chip damage, or get rid of the sturdy on the Donphan, that could be a huge boon for
going for the Sucker Punch
going forward.
Okay, Earthquake.
Yeah, a decent amount of damage still. But Earthquake's able to kill that off. I'm curious to see if we're going to see the Cryogonal or the Vaporeon come in. But the Earthworm comes in. It does have that Earth Eater ability. I just momentarily forgot. So it is immune to that powerful stab Earthquake, and it will heal it for 25% of his HP.
Do I feel like it would have been better to try to predict that and then go for like switch into Earthworm expecting the Earthquake, just to bring it back up to full? That definitely would have been an interesting idea, but instead he just went to sack off the Toxicroak.
I think breaking the sturdy is potentially more a more interesting and like beneficial play, and Toxicroak doesn't do a lot else into this matchup. Once again, goes to the body press into that Skeledirge switch, and once again, I'm curious to see if Wired will see the pattern potentially of them trying to switch out into the Vaporeon, and I believe that's what he expected to happen here. But the Shadow Ball does finish off the Earthworm either way.
So that means no more Terra Captains on Assault side. So now he's just playing with his Pokemon naked, essentially. I believe that at this point it's just going to be a switch out right back into Iron Hands. Tried to protect. I probably would have gone off with straight off damage in that case.
I believe they were trying to scout out to see what would happen. It's a pretty free churn to do so. Goes for the Stomping Tantrum, gets the read into the Magnezone switching in. That is huge. Magnezone was potentially one of their best offensive threats on this team, and now it's no longer. It is just no longer an issue. Seeing this is not a lot of offensive pressure coming out from Salt's team anymore. So I'm curious to see if they'll be able to, what kind of damage they'll be able to do. Once again,
it's like reading a book.
Wired has so many Pokemon that can switch into these moves that are just immune to what Salt's small Pokemon want to do, and it seems to be working out so well. And it does have the Sludge Bomb.
It did have the Sludge Bomb.
The Sludge Bomb getting that huge damage off on the Flapple. but has that ripened citrus berry healing up for 50% of its HP. Now, I'm curious to see what this Flapple is going to be able to do going forward. It goes for the Fire Terra Blast.
Ooh.
I don't think this Vaporeon can come in, but this Grab Apple is still going to do a lot of damage. It will be faster, and so we know it's ripened, so there's no chance of missing off that hustle ability. And I'm not sure. I believe this might just be a game. This Flapple's probably just going to clean up the rest of these Pokemon with the Terra Blast and the Grab Apple. Yep.
And it's just, yep. Oh, it lives it. It lives it.
But this Amoonguss, like, famously bulky, but also seemingly like having some decent offensive pressure into at least one of these Pokemon. Now the Masquerain coming out here, getting its time to shine for just one turn probably, unless it misses this Hurricane, but it doesn't go for the Hurricane. Doesn't want to risk anything, just goes to the Bug Buzz.
Yeah, just finishes it off nice and quick.
That's a nice 5-0 victory for the Phoenix Phantums over here.
Yep. Yeah, this definitely was I would say a very predictable game, because every time that something happened, Wire Dragon just saw right through it and just immediately switched into something that was going to be able to deal with anything that Salt provided.
Hopefully. I'm excited to see throughout the weeks. This is only week 2. People are still getting their
bearings for it.
Getting their bearings, getting their strides in. I'm excited to see if there are players decide to start to realize that like some of these things are readable and start to make predictions of their own, and maybe turns like those won't start to happen again, where they just click buttons into immune Pokemon like this. I think of any team, Wire Dragons is an incredible team to teach those lessons as well.
Yeah, most definitely. But that was our 4th match for this week. We got one more happening in a couple days, so hopefully we see a fun match from Matt Y and Karate Man. But with that, thank you for viewing. Like, comment, subscribe, do something fun, and I hope everyone has a wonderful day. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.